Welcome, everyone. It's Tammy Mastroberte, founder of Elevated Existence and publisher and editorial director of the award-winning Elevated Existence magazine. Today with me is Karen Noe. She is a renowned psychic medium, spiritual counselor, and healer, and she's the author of a number of best-selling books, including Your Life After Their Death, A Medium's Guide to Healing After a Loss. Another book is Through the Eyes of Another, A Medium's Guide to Creating Heaven on Earth by Encountering Your Life Review Now. And also The Rainbow Follows the Storm, How to Obtain Inner Peace by Connecting with Angels and Deceased Loved Ones. She's the founder of the Angel Quest Center in Waldwick, New Jersey, where she teaches classes, gives readings, and practices alternative healing. Today, we are talking about her newest book called We Consciousness, 33 Profound Truths for Inner and Outer Peace. This book came about because after best-selling author Dr. Wayne Dyer left the physical plane in 2015, she began receiving profound and very specific messages from him for his family and also for the world. So while Wayne comes through on his own singularly for his family, he's also been coming through to Karen with a group of celestial beings called the We Guides. And that includes St. Francis of Assisi and other angels and ascended masters, and really was kind of the spark for this new book called We Consciousness. So Karen Noe, thank you so much for joining us and our Elevated Existence audience, and congratulations on the new book.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely.
Those are long titles to those books. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. So I want to start off, for those who might be new to you and your work. Can you share a little bit about how you first started communicating with angels and also then deceased loved ones?
Yes. People ask me that all the time. They ask me if I've always been psychic, and the answer is yes, but I haven't always been a psychic medium, if that makes sense. When I was younger, my father used to take me to the racetrack, and I picked the winning horses for him. And now I'm an animal activist, so I don't go to the track.
Right.
I would dream things that would happen before they did and things like that. But about 20 years ago, I was going through a very difficult time in my life, and I just sat at the edge of my bed and I yelled at God. And I asked him if I'd be okay. And as I was doing that, I saw a light that started coming towards me from the other side of the room. And my first response was, if you're not of God, please leave. But the more I said that, the more it continued to come towards me, and it eventually enveloped me. And at that time, I heard an audible voice that said, Luce Lucina, Bella Luce Lucina. And for the listeners who are Italian, that means light, beautiful little light. And I've since learned that was St. Francis of Assisi, who's been guiding and protecting me ever since. Right after that experience, I started feeling the angels and deceased loved ones a lot. And I didn't want people to think I was not in my right mind, so kind of turned it off. But the more I experienced, I explained the messages that I was receiving, the more I saw that they were truly coming through from the other side in the angels. So I gave in. So it pretty much happened then, and word spread. And I started doing healing in the back of a hair salon with one client, and then she told a few people, they told a few people, and then eventually I was booked months ahead of time and then years ahead of time. So that's pretty much the story.
Yes. So now I know that you have been published by Hay House. Your books have been published by Hay House. So that was sort of your connection to Wayne Dyer, as in you shared the same publisher.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really had a relationship with him or anything while he was alive and in this physical world. However, after he passed, you started getting messages from him. So can you share a little bit about how that happened and eventually sort of led to the We Guides and the book that you've created?
You could first call me the reluctant medium, because I did not feel significant, and I had to work on that. But what happened was, I also have a radio show called the Angel Quest Show, and I interviewed Serena Dyer, I think it was a few months before Wayne had passed, on my radio show. So I had that connection open, with Serena. And then I found out that Wayne Dyer died, and I didn't know what I could do for her. I just was devastated. He was my mentor. I didn't know him personally. I went to his conferences, bought his books, but I didn't know him as a person. But I had Serena on my show, and after Wayne died, as I said before, I know what I was supposed to do. So I contacted her via email, and I said, Serena, please know without a doubt that your father truly is okay, and he would want you to be too. Ask him to give you without a doubt signs to let you know without a doubt that it's with you. And I do have a book called Your Life After Their Death. I know it would help you. So if you would like, I would love to send it to you. And I would do anything that I can to help you with this grief. And then she emailed me back. She said she would like a book. So I sent her a copy of my book. 2 days later, I was scheduled to speak at the I Can Do It event in Orlando and for Hay House. And they were going to do a tribute to Dr. Wayne Dyer at that event. So I had to come a day early, and I go onto the author bus. There was a bus that went with the authors from the hotel to the conference center. And I'm sitting on the bus with all my favorite authors, and I'm feeling insignificant. And we'll talk about that later. But there was one seat available, and that was next to me. And in walks Serena Dyer. So she walks in, and I said, oh, Serena, I'm so sorry about your dad. I'm Karen Noe. And she goes, oh, Karen, I just got your book today. Thank you so much. I said, you're very welcome. And remember to ask for signs. Had received any signs? And she started talking to me about the signs that he was giving already. And she was telling me about her sister Sage, who had a wonderful dream in which she actually felt her dad hugging her. And she felt his hairy arms and all sorts of things like that. So we were talking, and that was it. That was it. We went into the event. And then when the event was over, here I am, Miss Insignificance. But he told me to get out of this very quickly, but I'll tell you that in a minute. I said, I can't go back on that bus. I feel so insignificant. I can't go back on that bus. So I started walking to the hotel room. And as I'm walking to the hotel room, I'm saying to myself, I feel so insignificant. I kept saying that. And then all of a sudden, I felt Wayne for the first time. And he yelled at me. And he said, get out of your own way. Forcefully.
Yeah.
I said, oh, okay. Wayne, is that you? Get out of your own way. I said, Wayne, if that's you, you have to give me a sign to let me know without a doubt that it's you. And I said, how may I serve? That's something he would say all the time. And then I heard, you're already serving. And I said, how may I serve more? And that was it. I'm going to start to cry. So I went to the hotel room, and as I got to the hotel room, I felt something very itchy in my shirt. And I reached in to get it, and it was a sticker. I have the sticker on now, I'll show you. And it was not on my shirt before. And on the sticker, it said W with an E below it. You see it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. See how big it is? It's pretty big. See, Boo?
Yeah.
I said, how the heck did that get? And I didn't think about signs yet. And immediately my first thought was that was Wayne, W-E, first letter, last letter. Because when I get messages for people, I get first letter, last letter of their name or something like that, right? So I said, oh, Wayne, oh my God, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And it felt like it was more than that, but I wasn't sure what it was. But that in itself was amazing. And then I was scheduled to speak, and I said, Wayne, speak through me. And as I'm speaking, after I spoke, I actually got a standing ovation. I had to work on the insignificance. He's yelling at me. Anyway, so that was it. And I went home, and about maybe a couple of weeks later, I heard from Sage, his daughter, his youngest daughter. And she said that Serena had told her about me, and she started telling me, we were going back and forth on Facebook. And finally I said, let me just call you. Let me just call and we could talk about it. She was telling me about the dreams. And as she was talking, then he started coming through with very personal messages, some of which I don't think I could share here because they're so personal. But if you do get the We Consciousness, I have every single one of his children, as well as his wife, wrote a testimonial about the messages they wanted to share. Okay. But this one I think I could share. He just said that she would be doing what he had done when she turned 30. And she said, oh my gosh, she used to always tell me that. And, she's not quite 30, and we'd go back and forth about that. Eventually, I just felt him, give her more, give her more. And I'm talking to her. And finally, I said, Sage, I have a center in Ramsey. If you would like to come, she's located in Manhattan. I said, I could come at night because I'm booked for a couple of years ahead of time, but I would love to do this for you. I will do anything for you because I just love your dad. Mm. So she eventually got back to me, and she said, sure. And she said, by the way, my mother and my two sisters, Sky and Serena, will happen to be in the area. When I did give her a date, and she said they happened to be in the area. Can they come? I said, of course. I later found out they weren't going to be in the area. They just wanted to come for the appointment.
Right.
Fast forward, here I am, here we go again, thinking, oh my God, insignificant Karen, what did I get myself into? Even though I'm booked for 2 years ahead of time, I'm really doing this, right? Right. Anyway, I started going for walks with my dog, right? And as I'm going for walks with my dog, I started feeling Wayne. And he was so excited to talk about the afterlife, and so excited to talk about the we consciousness. We consciousness that he was going to tell me about. And I was like, oh my God. And I just felt, oh, this is amazing. This is so exciting. And I went home, and I wrote everything down that he was telling me. And long story short, it is a long story. And then eventually had the appointment with the Dyers. And as I'm on my way to give the reading, a car cut me off. And the license plate of the car was Dyer, Dyer1. I said, oh my God, this is amazing. I try to get my cell phone out, and I'm trying to take a picture of it, but it's difficult as you're driving. So It was blurry. But I showed the Dyers. But in any case, I got there. And as soon as they walked in, he almost took over my body. Tammy, it was crazy because if you know me, I'm kind of shy. You could see how I am right now. But all of a sudden, this persona came over me, and even Serena to this day, she laughs at it. I said, he told them to hurry up. They went to the bathroom first. And I said, I'm really sorry I have to tell you this, but your dad is here. And he's telling you to hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Get it. Come on. And he was yelling at them.
Oh my God.
So I said, I'm really sorry. I'm I'm channeling him, and then I'm coming through and, going back and forth. And what he did was he spoke to each one of them as he did when he was here on in life. And he spoke to Sky in a very soft spoken way. And he kind of yelled at Serena the way he spoke to her in life. And Sage was in between, but he said things that only they would know.
Yes.
One thing that I can share, because Serena shares it, is that he said that Serena was going to have a baby. And she said, no, I just had a baby. I'm not going to have another baby. And Wayne goes, no, you're going to have a baby. Fireworks, 4th of July, something like that. She goes, no. And to make a long story short, all the messages made sense. So when she went home, she did take a pregnancy test, and she indeed was in the family way. And she was due on the 4th of July. She wasn't even showing at that point.
Oh, she was due on the 4th of July. I love it.
On the 4th of July. I think the baby was born. The best part was this. And then I started communicating with them throughout that whole first year. I was on the phone with them almost every single day with one of those kids. I mean, he was, call them now. It was like, oh my gosh. But when Serena, I had no idea she was in the hospital. And I was home. I was making dinner. Call Serena now. Call her now. He yells at me.
Oh my!
I said, I'm making dinner. Can I wait? Call her now. So I said, I called Serena. She's not answering the phone. So I called Sage. And I said, Sage, is Serena going through something very exciting right now? Because your dad wants me to call her now. And Sage says, yes, she's about to push. She's in the hospital. She's ready to give birth. I said, put the phone by her ear, because she was in the room with her. And I said, Daddy's with you. He's with you. He loves you so much.
Oh.
So these are the types of messages that he gave throughout the year. Crazy. And I could go on and on. Could I share one more? And then we'll go on with the we consciousness.
Sure.
But another one, it was 6:30 in the morning. 6:30 in the morning. And he tells me to call Tracy, which is his oldest daughter. So I said, okay, but it is 6:30 in the morning. Call her now. So I call her. I texted her. I said, is it okay? Your dad is here. And she said, Yes, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. So I call her and I said, before you say anything, she's crying. I said, before you say anything, your dad is saying he can hear you, but you can't hear him. Does that mean something? And she's crying. And she said, Karen, I just had a dream of my dad. And in the dream, I was screaming at him saying, can't you hear me? Can't you hear me?
Oh my God.
So those were the types of messages. So I know without a doubt, it truly was Wayne.
Yes.
I still feel insignificant, and I'm not the only one that he's coming to. He's coming to many people throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So going back to the we consciousness piece of it.
Yes.
How did you come to understand the we guides? And Wayne is actually part of these we guides now, right?
Yes. So here I am thinking, okay, I know he kept telling me I have to write a book. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to write a book. I thought it was all about the stories with his family coming through, but they were so personal and I didn't think I could share them. You know, when I say personal, it's things that I would never have known. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So New Year's Eve that first year, I said, I want to stay awake. So, you know, for New Year's at 12 midnight, but I'm too tired. So I decided to take a nap. So I'm lying down and all of a sudden I felt Wayne come through and I opened my eyes and I feel him. And he said, now's the time to do what you always knew you were going to be doing. And I knew right away. It was, I start to cry. It was to promote peace on the planet. I always knew that, even from day one. And I wouldn't be just communicating with him. He would be joining forces with my we guides, which was St. Francis of Assisi, all of my angels, ascended masters, and him as well. And they were going to give me 33 concepts of the we consciousness to raise the vibration of the planet, because it's very much needed now.
Yes.
As you know. So that's pretty much how it came about. And I was very excited. I ran to the computer and I just started typing the outline for the book. And within a half an hour, I had the whole outline. So it was crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And I submitted it the next day to Reed Tracy, and he came through for Reed. That was personal messages as well. And I said, and then at the end, they said, oh, by the way, Reed, you know, I'm thinking of writing a book. And he said, and Wade said, come on, say more. And I said, this is what it's about. And Reed said, I'll have the contract to you in the morning. And the rest is history.
So, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So where did the 30, so you basically sort of got these 33 concepts through these we guides. Did they say why there were 33?
Yes, 33 is a significant number. It's the number of divine guidance and the evolution of all of creation. So it was something like that. So I said, okay. So 33 was a very important number, and that was it. And the most important concept was encompasses almost everything, that we are all connected, everyone and everything, and that includes God, the angel, ascended masters, deceased loved ones, beings from other dimensions, as well as all animals and nature as well. And we're all connected. And what one does to oneself or another affects the whole.
Yes, yes.
Very important. When we realize that those other people are us, we treat them with the respect that they deserve as well.
Yes. And I know in the book you talk about how Wayne says you know, when you pass on and you kind of move back to spirit and leave your body, you can see through the eyes of other people. You can see through the eyes of God. So you can see, you know, what someone else is going through that maybe you didn't understand when you were here. And it reminds me a lot of Anita Moorjani in her book, one of the books where she talks about that same thing is, you know, we get so mad at somebody for doing something to us, but then when we're on the other side, we can see everything.
Truly, truly. And if we could do that in this lifetime, instead of waiting till we pass, we can create peace in our lives right here and now. If we were able to see through the other person's eyes all the time. Sometimes it's not easy, but when you do, you will see try to see where they're coming from.
Yes.
And that's what my book, Through the Eyes of Another, is all about. So
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I want to go through some of the concepts that sort of jumped out at me. So one of them was, I think it's concept 5, and it basically stated God is only love and peace.
Yes.
And so you must be love and peace to fully feel your connection with
Yes.
him.
Correct.
And I read that and I was like, that, you know, so many people will say that they struggle to sort of feel connected, or they struggle for, you know, and so it's kind of like when you're not in that state, you're not truly feeling spirit.
You're not feeling who you really are, God within you. You must raise your vibration to be more on par with the energy of God.
Yes, yes. And in the book, and I have a question on that coming up too. You actually have a whole chapter about raising your vibration and understanding that. So another concept that I loved was concept 10, where it states that it's imperative to focus on what is right in the world
Oh boy, that's a big one.
instead of what is wrong in the world. And so not only to me does that mean, you know, obviously people hear that when we're talking about law of attraction or manifestation, you have to focus on what's going right in your life. But I feel like it's bigger than that.
It's much bigger than that. And in order to make change in the world, we have to focus on solutions instead of the problems.
Yes.
Focus on what we want instead of what we don't want. So if you follow me on Facebook, you'll see I post no matter what's going on. Cute animals, peace, love. And I know people would say, well, that's not going to solve the problem. But focusing and continuing to stay plugged into what is wrong is only going to make that stronger.
Yes.
We have to focus on what we want instead. Do we want peace? Let's focus on peace. Let's do something to promote peace in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not point fingers at anybody else. Let's change ourselves.
Yes, yes. And so there's two concepts that are one right after another that I think sort of go together, and I want to ask you about. So concept 11 and 12. Okay. 11 says that at any particular time, the dominant vibration of the mass consciousness, since we're all connected, strongly affects what's happening in the world. And then concept 12 says when most people are unable to feel their connection with God and everyone else, world events that are not of a peaceful nature can occur. So
guess what's happening now?
Yes. So I was just gonna say, so can you sort of share a little bit about what you learned from the We Guides about those concepts? Because I think people struggle today with the events that are happening, with the things that are going on, and they think like, why does this keep happening? Or what is, you know, and what can I do? I feel helpless. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, what's happening is most people are plugged into what they don't want. They're plugging into the violence and all of this. Even though they're saying they don't want the violence, by saying they don't want the violence and, chatting about it and posting it on Facebook about what's happening and all of that's just creating more violence. It's the same as what we just discussed. So we have to focus on solutions to these problems, and one by one, we could spread this love, right? That's what we could do. Raise our own vibration. And, it really, how do I begin to say this? It begins within ourselves. We have to love ourselves first before we could love another. Yeah. And most people don't, a lot of people don't love themselves. Yeah. And that's Anita Moorjani. She's a wonderful teacher on spreading the self-love movement, right? So that's what we need to do, is to spread the love, spread the peace, focus on what you want to do. Peaceful demonstrations. Don't march against something before something. Want peace? Have a peace march, right?
Right.
Anybody that created real positive change were peaceful warriors. Martin Luther King, Gandhi.
Yes.
I want to say something else about the great master Jesus. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or what, but there are Christians that say, well, Jesus would want this. Honestly, Jesus would want violence. Jesus would want to carry a gun. Jesus would want this. Well, try to think about that. Is that true?
Yeah.
And then go from there. Martin Luther King, no violence. Gandhi, no violence. That's when change was really made.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. There's so many amazing concepts in this book, and so the sort of a lot of it, like you said, is the ultimate is to find peace within yourself and then extend that peace out into the world.
Yes.
So can you share some, because I know in the book you sort of break down, I think it's 5 steps to,
I have a list here. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. To sort of set peace, our own journey of peace, whether, you know, whatever's happening out in the world, we can work within. So can you share some steps that we can use to sort of start with ourselves?
Yes. Well, the first thing you go in to do is focus on what you want. It always comes back to that. Focus on what you want instead of what you don't want. So what do you want? You want peace? Do you want, what is it that you want? And focus on that. Then you're going to meditate about it. Meditate, quiet yourself. Ask God and the angels for help. You know, let's see, what did I forget? Quiet your thoughts, that's meditating. Call upon the angels, send love to everyone in your path. You want to, regardless of what they're doing to you, try to see through their eyes why they're doing what they're doing. You may not understand it, but you'll understand where they're coming from. And then when you do that, they will feel heard and they'll be more loving towards you, and you will be, you know, the result will be perfect. So does that make sense?
Yes.
It's like that.
Yes. Yes.
I have my notes. When you do a radio interview, you could just take it out, but I'm on a video, so
Right.
I'm reading it. But,
That's okay.
Yeah.
So I know, so you mentioned a little bit about, you were just talking about self-love and how it kind of starts with self-love. And part 2 of this book is about self-love.
Yes.
Because as you said, we need to have love within ourselves in order to extend it to others and what have you. So what are some, because I think sometimes people hear self-love and they don't get the importance of it. And they certainly don't understand how to sort of incorporate it into their own lives. So can you share what are some sort of pathways to this, to be more loving to ourselves?
Yes. You the advantages of self-love. Let me see. 1 second. First of all, you'll make your own happiness a priority and not be swayed by external circumstances.
Yes.
Right? So that's very important. You will look out for your own best interests when you love yourself, right? Your confidence will increase. Yes.
Yes.
You make it a priority to achieve your dreams, to do what you came here on earth to do, right? You will attract loving situations and people in your life. When you're more loving and peaceful within yourself, you attract whatever you're thinking and feeling about yourself. You're a magnet that attracts like unto itself. So when you're loving yourself, you're attracting loving, peaceful people in your life.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll make healthier choices for yourself. You know, other people won't have the power to offend you. People are offended by what what people say to you. It won't matter what they say, because you know what you're doing is right and all of that. I mean, I could go on and on. You'll be a greater service to others. You'll be happy for others instead of resenting them. Right?
Yeah.
You'll create your own positive situations and understand, this is a big one, that you're not a victim. You're not a victim. You could do something to change what's going on in your life.
And I know throughout the book, you sort of, I think it's at the beginning of some of the chapters, or I can't remember if it's the beginning or the end of the chapters now, but where you call on Wayne as himself to sort of come through with messages. And I remember one of the things, I think it had to have been during the self-love section of the book, where he was talking about the difference between self-love and being selfish, and how, you know, so many times we feel like when we do things to make ourselves happy, that we're being selfish, or we're not being, you know, good, peaceful people to other people. So do you have any advice in terms of self-love versus selfish?
We are just as important as everyone else. We're part of the we consciousness as well. So when we recognize that, that's not being selfish. Think about that. We're just as, and we can't give what we don't have. So if we're depleted, if we're, it's always serving other people, which I highly endorse, but we have to put ourselves in that equation as well.
Yes. Right. Now you mentioned the raising our own vibration, and I think that's so key to whatever it is that we're trying to do in this physical world. We need to be operating from a higher vibration, whether we're trying to get messages from deceased loved ones, recognize signs, attract something, what have you. So can you share some ways that we can bring ourselves up to a higher vibration, to that more loving, natural state that we should be in?
One of the most important ways we could do that is to practice forgiveness. I always use this saying, Wayne used to use this saying as well, it's not the snake bite that kills us, it's the venom that's left behind, right? So when we are unforgiving of another person, we're hurting ourselves. We lower our vibration. So practice forgiveness. You want to set the intention that you want to raise your vibration. So just by saying that, you want to be more compassionate, see through the eyes of others. There's so many ways, so many things. Let's see my little list here. Monitor your inner dialogue. So you want to notice the thoughts inside of your head. If you're thinking like, oh, that one cut me off, oh, this one, watch what you're saying. Send loving, peaceful thoughts to others as well. Even though people can't see what you're thinking, it's a vibration that goes out to the world.
Yes,
So
they feel it.
thoughts, right? Send love, send peace to everyone, even though they may not know on a physical level what you're doing. They will feel it on a spiritual. So you want to pray, meditate daily, be grateful. The more you're grateful, the more things will come into your life of which to be grateful. And the next one I tiptoe around many years in the past about, but I have a strong chapter on this in my book. Eat a primarily plant-based diet. Not everyone's going to resonate with this message, and I'm aware of that, because if I'm speaking to a whole auditorium room filled with people, there may be 3 people in there that are vegan. Right. But I tell you, as soon as I received the message from St. Francis, right after that, I couldn't eat meat anymore, because I actually felt the pain of the animals as I was eating them. And I didn't do that anymore. And I assure you, if people could feel that, they would never eat meat again. And animals, non-human animals, are part of who we are, part of the we consciousness.
Yes.
It's not just dogs and cats. It's the cows and the chickens and all of them. So when I tell people, I know not everybody, it might go in one ear and out the other, and that's okay. But I can say, if they could be a vegan one day a week, I know they could do that. And by doing that, they could save one animal's life one day, one animal's life each time that they are a vegan, each day.
Yes.
And it's better for the environment. It's better for their health and everything. So I'm not pushing, I kind of am pushing veganism, but I know it's not for everyone. And by the way, anything I say that doesn't resonate with people, you don't have to accept it.
Yes.
It's within yourself. That's God within you telling you right or wrong. And when the time is right, or if it ever comes to that point about being a vegan, then you can become a vegan. And I assure you, you'll raise your vibration immensely. Your psychic abilities will increase immensely, and you'll feel better. You'll be saving the environment as well.
Yes, yes. One of the tools that you shared in the book was, and I believe this was under the self-love chapter too, and possibly raising your vibration, was about writing a letter to ourselves.
Yes.
So can you explain what you mean by that, and why is it beneficial to write a letter to ourselves?
It's very good to write a letter to yourself as if you are another person, if you could follow me on that, a loving, positive, peaceful letter while you're proud of yourself. You could forgive yourself about things you did in the past. In writing a letter, you take the time to think about all the positive qualities that you have. Most people, especially light workers, put everyone ahead of themselves. But when you write yourself a letter, you sit there. That was one of the most difficult letters I wrote, because through the eyes of another, there are different types of letters to other people, forgiveness letters, letters of love to others, and all of that. But the letter to myself, yeah, that was difficult. See through your own eyes why you did at the time. So I was going through a divorce. At the time, I wrote through the eyes of another. Okay, I wrote myself a positive letter. And I said, I never intended to hurt my children, never. But I did nonetheless. But I didn't do it out of, maliciousness, and it just happened. And I tried to see through each of their eyes, but I tried to forgive myself for that. It was a mutual agreement between me and my ex-husband. But when I did that and I wrote myself a letter, I just felt so much better about myself. I really did. And I really highly recommend that everyone, including you, Tammy, write yourself a letter. It has
Yeah.
to be positive, loving, the qualities you love about yourself. It took me a long time. I'm like, oh yeah, that's something I do well, and I'd write it down, you know?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
definitely do that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that exercise.
Mhm.
So you mentioned this also. So we're all connected. So the animals, but we're also connected to not only our deceased loved ones, but the angels and our guides and all the celestial beings and things like that. So what are some ways that we can connect with them or call upon them in this life?
All you have to do is call upon the angels. Angels, I need to feel you. Please give me a without a doubt sign to let me know that you're with me. It has to be without a doubt, a sign that something that normally wouldn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it would be whether it could be a deceased loved one. You could ask them as well. Whether a car cuts you off, like it did with me with the Dyers, and you check the license plate and it's your loved one's name or an angel's name. All of a sudden, you'll smell perfume or cigar smoke for no reason.
Yeah.
Smells. The lights may flicker. Electricity, goes on and off. You see the same numbers over and over, whether it be 1111, 222, your loved one's birthday, things like that. You see it over and over, enough for you to say something's going on here. Or an animal may give you a sign, whether it be a bird, a ladybug, a butterfly. Whether it be they land, they would do something that they normally wouldn't do, whether it is landing on your shoulder. I've had doozies of messages from my loved ones as well as the angels. But you ask them to give you a sign, and then be patient and wait, and the sign will come when you least expect it.
Yeah.
But it's important. Most people expect to hear an audible voice,
Yes.
or to hear an audible voice, or to see an apparition of their loved one or the angels, whereas they are spirit now. So they won't necessarily come as a physical body or as a voice, although they may. But chances are they're coming to you as thoughts. They're coming to you as thoughts that just pop in your head for no reason.
Yeah.
So you want to pay attention to the thoughts that pop in your head. So how do you differentiate your thoughts from your loved one's thoughts? Okay, how do you do that? Your loved ones, if you're thinking of your loved ones, something will trigger a thought that'll trigger a thought. Maybe you see a picture of your mom that triggers a thought that triggers a thought. That's you. A message from your mom will just pop in your head, something she would have said or done for no reason. You can't find the originating thought.
Mm.
When my own mother passed, I realized what people were going through, because I get these types of messages all the time from my clients. The messages just pop in my head, names, details, something they did together, but that's not my frame of reference. And I could easily differentiate that from my own thoughts. But when it was my mom and she passed, oh boy, I saw what people go through. I
Yeah.
was thinking about her all the time. So this is what happened. I wouldn't have known this if I didn't do what I do, but
Mm.
it would be a thought that would come to my mind. Hi, sweetheart. I don't call myself sweetheart.
Right.
My mom called me sweetheart, right? So that's what happens. Right?
Okay.
Pay attention to the thoughts that pop into your head. If they were loud on earth, they're very loud after they passed. If they were quiet on earth, they're very quiet.
Mm.
Their personality is the same. They're evolving and growing, but they retain the same personality. So look for that as well.
Yes, I love that. Now,
Right.
so speaking of sort of communication from the afterlife, in the book, toward the end of the book, you share a number of sort of channeled messages from Wayne
Yes.
about the afterlife and about, what he's been doing and things like that. So can you share a little, like maybe one or two things that he impressed upon you to share in the book that people would be interested in?
If I may, what happens first, let me explain. I receive messages from deceased loved ones, as well as Wayne, as well as the angels, as thoughts.
Yes.
So where some people channel word for word for word for word from there, like Abraham is amazing, Esther Hicks.
Yes.
Messages, it's downloaded bits of information that come. So it's my words to describe what he's telling me. So if it
Yes.
sounds like me, it's because it sounds like me, but it's what he's telling me to say.
Right.
Okay. Now I actually have the channel message, "What is it like in the afterlife?" in front of me, if you would
Oh,
like.
perfect.
So this is directly from Wayne, my words interpreting what he said.
Okay.
Okay. What is it like in the afterlife? Where I am now is not the afterlife, but the continuation of life without the restrictions of the physical body that bound me to the earth plane. One minute I was confined to the physical shell, the next I was free as I stepped into this pure state of infinite love. I yearned to reach this level of awareness for the last several years of my earthly existence, so I was surprised and delighted to achieve this goal in an instant. As I re-entered this familiar state of consciousness and arrived at my true place of origin, I was greeted by my loved ones, including my mother, and yes, my father too, and glorious celestial beings, eager to welcome me back home. I am elated that I can now be wherever I wish to be with a simple thought of a desired location anywhere in the universe. I am still aware and interested in what transpires on Earth, but I now comprehend that it's just a tiny speck in the totality of all of creation. Make sure to tell everyone that the same loving consciousness that you have called God really does. It is present within everyone and everything in the entire universe. This Spirit of God does not judge me or anyone else because it is all loving. On the other hand, I am now able to see how my actions, good and bad, have affected all those in my life, and I continue to grow and evolve. I am also able to see through my loved ones' eyes to understand why they behaved in certain ways too, with no judgment. In this new place of reality, one always experiences pure joy and contentment. I continually bask in complete, unconditional love, feeling my connection to the whole, while at the same time experiencing the freedom of doing whatever I wish to do and being wherever I desire to be. While on Earth, I was able to connect to millions of like minds who were yearning for the truths of which I spoke. To them, I am pleased to say that the essence of the teachings I gave when I was in the physical body has now been confirmed to be true. Also, please spread this message to everyone who will listen. We are all one in love. Everything else is just an illusion. So that's what he said about the afterlife.
Yes, amazing, amazing.
Profound, right? I know.
Yes, and I also know that I actually interviewed his daughters Sage and Serena for a cover story a couple of years back, and they were both of them told me, and I know you have said that he said this to you as well, that you don't have to be a family member of his to call upon him for something. So can you share sort of what he what he explained to you in terms of that?
As a matter of fact, now remember when I said he comes singularly to his family,
Yes.
or he could come as part of the holy consciousness to other people.
Yes.
All they need to do is ask him to come. That's all, and he'll be there for them. I've heard tremendous stories and signs that people have been, be receiving from him. One of the best signs, I have to, if I could share one.
Yes.
From Anita Moorjani.
Yes.
So I was speaking at that one particular event in Orlando. And before I was ready to speak, I'm in my hotel room and I'm looking out at the conference center. You can actually see it from the hotel room. And over the conference center is a huge rainbow over the conference center. I said, he's giving a really good sign to someone who's speaking now. And I looked at the list and it was Anita Moorjani. So he's giving the sign of the rainbow. It's just amazing the signs he's been giving. But you don't have to be an Anita Moorjani or me or anyone else. All of us can call upon Wayne and he will truly be there for us.
Yes, amazing.
Yep.
That's so good to know, because I think there are so many people out there who just loved him, even though they didn't know him personally, they just knew him through his work. And the fact that they can now call on him for help or for guidance is amazing.
Now, remember, we have to raise our vibration, to be more on par with his vibration. So that's something we have to do.
Yes, absolutely.
In order to hear what he's saying.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. It's an amazing book. There's so many. I mean, we touched on, there's 33 concepts. I think I pulled out like 5 or 6 of them here, but there's so much more, and there's all these different messages from Wayne that you've sort of reinterpreted, and it's just amazing. So thank you so much, and let everybody know, what's the name of the book again, and then how can they find out more about you?
Okay, it's We Consciousness, 33 Profound Truths of Inner and Outer Peace. You could find the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any bookstores. You could go to my website to find me is KarenNoe.com. That's KarenNoe.com.
Perfect, absolutely. And I know you have a center in New Jersey where you teach classes and on a variety of subjects, and they can find out more information about that as
Yes.
well. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
And thank you, of course, to all of our elevated listeners. And until next time, keep elevating yourself.